Hi, Pisces Sun and Rising. Welcome to your July 2025 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So there's a lot going on in July, including 3 retrogrades, but also Uranus is going into Gemini. Gemini is a fellow mutable sign, and for you it falls in the 4th house of home and family. I'm going to talk about how it's going to affect you, but I'm going down the line with all of these transits. I do want to say 2 of them that are carrying over from the month of June. One of them is the Sun in Cancer. Cancer is a fellow water sign. It trines you. That's the most cooperative angle. And it's coming from such a beautiful place, which is the 5th house. The 5th house is the house of love and creativity. Pisces people tend to be very romantic and very creative. So it's a house that it's Leo's house in astrology, but you really resonate with it in terms of how you live life. And so that should be very harmonious for you for the first few weeks of the month. And then Virgo is in, Mars is in Virgo, and Virgo is your opposite sign. So there's like this energy of Mars in the 7th house of committed partnership. This could be a little tricky for some people. If you are coupled, there may be more tension. There may be some particular issue that you're beefing about. I don't know. But in general, this could indicate that, it could be something positive, like you guys, the 2 of you are starting to work out together. You know, Mars is very physical and very active. Mars is also libido, so it could be sexual activity is being ramped up at this time. And again, this is carrying over from June. So the 7th house is also legal affairs. So that could be something where you're fighting some kind of case. That could be what's happening as well. I have to say, some people might be getting a divorce and combining the house of marriage and legal affairs in that way. On the 4th, July 4th, Venus goes into Gemini. So Venus goes into that 4th house. And you had Jupiter in this sector for a whole year. Now Jupiter is in your 5th house of love and creativity, but it was in that 4th house, so it is possible that you found your dream house. Maybe you haven't purchased it, and Venus is getting or maybe selling your property. Venus is money, and that can be connected to some kind of property. It can mean harmony within your household. Maybe you're sprucing up your household with some kind of decor. And harmony with the mother or the father. On the same day, Neptune, your ruler, goes retrograde at 3 degrees of Aries. This is in your 2nd house of earned income. So this could be something where you thought you had some money and now you're finding otherwise, or you thought a source of income was going to stay that way. And there might be a bit of disillusionment. Saturn is here as well, and it is going to go retrograde too, I'm glad that Saturn is here with Neptune, at least for a few years, because Neptune by itself can, make us very delulu. And this can make things a little bit more grounded when Saturn is there, but Saturn is going retrograde. Anyway, this could be a reality check with your finances, and it's actually a good thing because you want to know. You don't want to be in the dark. You want to be realistic about this area of life. It's a very, it's your, this is an earth house. It's dealing with earth matter, so might as well. On the 7th, Uranus goes into Gemini. I already spoke about that, but I didn't say exactly what that can mean. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, and it can throw us curveballs. It can be very unpredictable. In the fourth house, it can lead to sudden changes of residence. I heard an astrologer say that if you have Uranus in your fourth house, you may move multiple times in that, 7-8 year period. Now, that could be an exaggeration, but at the very least, especially if you are planning on buying property with Saturn here, you may have a real desire to lay down roots. It might be wise to really do your homework and make sure that what you're getting yourself into isn't something that is not going to pan out. But I will say that Uranus could be like making the world your home, because Uranus being so unpredictable, this may be a time when you just don't want to settle down. But I feel like, when Saturn is here, if you have the means to do so, you may buy property. But then you may travel the world and work remotely or something along those lines. It could even be technology in the home. So maybe you have a home-based business, you're working from home, you're telecommuting, that kind of thing. I'm likely to do a separate video on that, so I'm not going to go too much further into all of that. On the 10th, we have a full moon at 18 degrees of Capricorn. And this is falling for you in your 11th house of hopes and wishes and gains. Yes, this could be a good time for money to multiply. Gains from your business, gains from your career especially. A full moon can bring things to fruition, but also your hopes and wishes can be realized at this time. Another thing too is friendships. You may either decide you've outgrown a friendship or you find out some news about a friend. On the 13th, Saturn goes retrograde at 1 degree of Aries, again in the second house of earned income. Saturn wants to lay down foundations. When it's retrograding, those have to be reconsidered. Reconsider doesn't mean they're not going to happen. It simply means that they're not set in stone. Well, nothing is in life, but you might realize that it's not as viable as you thought. Maybe it's a certain type of work, which a sixth house represents, that you're doing. Is it really enough to give you financial security in the long run? Maybe you were sold a bill of goods that really hasn't measured up. But just keep in mind that this is all about working things out, because you want to have all the kinks out as you pursue things. When Saturn is in this sector, in terms of the money that you earn, and I hope I didn't say anything about the sixth house. I meant the second house. When Saturn is here, you are prepared to work hard for what you gain, but you want to work smart more than you work hard, and it's not going to be smart if you find out that some kind of work that you're doing is not as lucrative or as available as you thought it would be. On the 18th, Mercury goes retrograde at 15 degrees of Leo. And for you, Pisces, this is your sixth house of work. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that synchronistic of what I just said about this second house? The sixth house, like the second house, these are earth houses. The sixth house in astrology is ruled by Virgo. So that this is a Mercury retrograde here. Again, that could be like rethinking the type of work that you're doing. Like I had just said, even though the Saturn retrograde is falling in the second house, it's still the money that you earn. So by, default, we are talking about sixth house matters. But here we have a Mercury retrograde here. So you had Mars retrograding in Leo for a long time in the past, half a year, and now that it's gone, Mars is in Virgo now. It doesn't mean that some of those lessons or some of the actions that you took are not still having reverberations. And this could be one of them. So, rethinking the type of work that you're doing, for example. And in some cases, this could be negotiating with an employer about something, be it your salary or your duties, that kind of thing. On the 22nd, the sun enters this sector, and 2 days later, we have an early new moon in this area at 2 degrees of Leo. So there will be developments with your work. However, keep in mind that this is during a retrograde, so some of those things may still be on shaky ground until sometime in August. So if you get a job offer, you may take that job offer, but you may not actually start until August. Something may be delayed or what have you. Or if you apply for a job, and even if you think, oh God, this is going to go through, it may be a delay before you hear back from them. On the 30th, Venus goes into Cancer. So Venus goes into this 5th house with Jupiter. I mean, both of these planets are connected to money, so your artistic endeavors could pay off. And this is such a great house for fun, for pleasure. Venus is about pleasure and aesthetics, so you could be enjoying the beautiful things in life, like art galleries and the theater. Maybe you're dating. It's romantic energy. Just wonderful time for you going into August. Okay, Pisces, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, I am promoting my double readings. They are 2 of my single readings put together for a special price. For instance, my deep dive reading, which is an hour of natal chart analysis and an hour of transits for the upcoming 12 months. So that's on-demand transits for a special price. And I also have a tarot reading that can be thrown in, the full-length tarot reading with those 2 readings. That's called the whole enchilada. And I have another type of package deal, and I just have a bunch of like career readings, love readings. You can find out more information at the link below. Thanks for listening. Bye.